Hello YouTube, my name is Steve. Welcome to my new video series, Indie Interviews with the Steve. In this series, I'm going to be highlighting independent artists that are out there trying to make a difference in the music world. For the first episode, I was fortunate enough to have Glenn Williams on with me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have Stephen Gonzalez here with us in the studio.
Hey YouTube, my name is Steve. I'm here with Glenn Williams.
Hello.
Alright Glenn, so tell me a little bit about how you got your start into music.
Oh my goodness, how much time do you have? I'm an old person. I go back a long, long way. I guess the best way to say that is like all of us that have enjoyed music, it started with listening to my parents' vinyl, their records. They would always have records playing around the house. And my first memory is rocking on a hobby horse, maybe the age of 4 or 3, listening to Elvis records and Frank Sinatra. And they had a tremendous mix of versatility in music. And they tell me that I loved it, and I wanted to put on more records and listen over and over and over again. And then they tell me that I would stand behind my mother's Hoover vacuum cleaner, upright vacuum cleaner, which was shaped like a stand microphone. And I would sing into the vacuum cleaner handle, okay? So, because I would watch variety shows on television. That was a real big thing. The Ed Sullivan Show, and every night had a different variety show, and that's how I learned to love the different singers of the era, the Robert Goulets, and I learned to love Broadway music. And it just kind of stemmed to that. And then guitar lessons followed. I became a big Beatle fan, and who wasn't in the mid-1960s, okay? And then I kind of wanted to play guitar like George Harrison, so my dad and mom sent me away to a guitar teacher, started taking guitar lessons, and I sure got bored of that like within a year and wanted to start singing and accompanying myself. And then I started listening to country music and folk music at the time, guys like Glenn Campbell and Bobby Goldsboro. And so I really loved accompanying myself and playing ditties, I guess, back in the day. And kind of that's where the album that I've done, The Grown Up Words, has stemmed from my love of simple melodies and simple words from the mid-late 1960s and into the 1970s.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I noticed like a lot of the tracks, iTunes classifies it as country, but I
trying to classify what's on this album is probably the most difficult. It was the most difficult decision we had to come up with. I think folk. I think maybe with some roots in country, but it's almost a genre of its own. I use the word ditty because it's simple melodies, simple words, and simple thoughts. They're earworms. Okay, you walk away after listening to them, and you start humming them back.
Yes.
There isn't anything profound or substantial about the musicianship or musicality. It's just easy listening stuff. Is there a category called easy listening anymore? Is that like... back in the day, Stephen, we had like one chart of top 40, okay? And in that chart, it went from AC/DC to the next one was Janis Ian, and the next one it was all genres into the top 40, and that's what we had. Now it's all been specialized. We've got hard rock, we've got this, we've got that. So when they wanted to classify this as what genre, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
just kind of there somewhere, floating out there. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I can definitely tell it pulled from a lot of different influences. Like you could hear a little bit of some blues licks in there, some jazz, some very eclectic writing.
Well, I might as well tell you how it all came about. Okay, a gentleman, a lyricist, contacted me from the shores of Oregon, someplace, and wanted to take some vocal lessons from me. As you know, I teach performing arts, vocals, and whatnot, and the gentleman, after we had a couple of sessions of him singing, he confided to me that he had all of these song lyrics like in a box, and his bucket list was to eventually put melodies, put music to his lyric. So I said, well, I can do that. Let me see what you have. And so he started reading, giving basically readings of his lyrics, his poetry, and it all kind of stemmed from there. It was one song, one phrase of poetry. You find a melody, a chorus, into a verse, one song done. And then he said, well, listen to this one. What do you think about this? And that is how the whole thing came about. And then after we had about 15 or 20 of them, he said he'd really like to record them. Mm-hmm. So, buddy that I have is a recording studio here in Las Vegas, and Ed, that's the gentleman's name, Ed Cornell. He flew down, and we did all of this via Skype, by the way. All of the writing we did was via Skype. I'd never met the man in person. And he came down to Las Vegas, and he spent 3 or 4 days here, and we tried to knock out most of the recordings of them. And then what we didn't do while he was here, he was on Skype watching and looking in on the process, and give us the A's and the nays. And it was kind of born that way. And then before we knew it, we had 10 tunes, and he said, well, I want to put them on an album. And he researched it all and thought the best way to go today, 2018, it's MP3 download and vinyl. It's done so well, Steve, that we've had 2 printed. And if we sell these 2, we may have a 3rd. That's how he'll work. No, actually, so he decided to go with vinyl because I understand 2018, everything old is new again, and vinyl's happening. So no CDs out there, folks. No, forget about that. No cassettes, no 8-tracks, not available in any store. But which is kind of cool because, as I said in the beginning of this interview, I love listening to vinyl. Why? Because we could read the liner notes on the back, open it up, and see pictures of the performers, whatnot. And it's what's kind of cool is the back of it's Americana, the ditty, and it's all about kind of what we had in mind when we married my talent for putting the music to his talent of doing the lyrics. So that's just kind of cool that it's available in vinyl. But it all came about simply because a gentleman wanted to take voice lessons, and then he wanted to put his lyrics to music. And I do that with a lot of my students that come in, because everyone, I believe, has a song inside them.
Absolutely.
They really do. And I've had people of all ages, from 13, 14 years old all the way to 84 and 85 come in and go, I've got this poem I wrote for my wife or my departed wife or whatever, and I'd really love to put it to music. And I don't write the music. I listen to what they have to say about it. Maybe they sing a tiny bit of it, and then the collaboration of what they have in mind and what goes through my mind. Once I hear what they've got going on, we put it together. I will go ahead and sing it back to them, and they'll say, yeah, that's what I had in mind. Or they'll say, no, that's not quite it. I'll go a different place with it. The process is so fulfilling and satisfying. I've been a performer my whole life, Steve, since I stepped on a stage at the age of 12. And someone, if they would have told me 10 years ago that I would be teaching, performing and singing, guitar, songwriting, acting, I'd say, nah, it's not for me. Mm-hmm. But when I got into it, like kicking and screaming, and I was able to see the satisfaction of watching the light go off over someone's head when they get it, when they understand what the process is. Yeah. And with the songwriting, when you can collaborate with someone and they go, oh, I've waited my whole life to hear that come alive. It's always been just the words. Now with the music, there's a song, I've written a song. That makes, when I close my eyes and sleep each night, I go, wow, that was a cool moment. I've loved every moment I've spent on stage, and I'm still on stage and I love it, but there's something totally different and unique and satisfying about that moment of watching a song being born and watching someone who had something to do with it, the lyricist, go, yes, it's a full-grown baby now. It's a child. It was just sitting around. Now it's come to life. Really cool.
Yeah.
You can tell I'm passionate about it.
Oh yeah. So the whole process. So you went through. You said about 15 to 20 songs.
Yeah.
About how much time would you spend on each song?
It varied on whether or not I was hitting pay dirt with my ideas based on what Ed was reading to me. Okay. Sometime. Now there's a song on the album called Backseat Song, okay? That was actually the first song that we wrote. And the concept of Backseat Song, and a lot of the times it's the lyricist telling you what they had in mind when they wrote it. That really helps me to get a feel of where I want to go. If it's a darker tune like Dream Street, I'm going to go to a minor key. We're going to start writing in a minor thing. It's a darker feeling. A Backseat song was about him as a child. A lot of this is his feelings, his experiences. He's in his 70s now. Much as in his experiences as a human being and the things that he's gone through in his life. This was a Backseat song about him sitting in the backseat with his brothers and sisters. And back in the day when you're taking a long car trip, we didn't have a phone to play on or Game Boys or anything. It was like your parents had to keep you busy so you wouldn't drive them crazy while you're trying to get from point A to point B, right?
Yeah.
So what his parents would do was have them make up a song as they were driving. And it would be a goofy thing, some goofy melody. And so Backseat song became just one of those just a goofy song that kids would sing in like a nursery rhyme in the backseat of a car. And when he explained to me what it was about, then I could make a nursery rhymey melody to go along with it. We wrote that in the session. That was done. But of course, there's nothing terrific music from a musicality standpoint. It's real simple. Like I say, they're all real simple stuff. But that one was done in just a few minutes. Now, I mentioned Dream Street Saloon. That's kind of a more Sinatra-esque feel, a darker, minor key, major sevenths. You're a guitar player, you know what I'm talking about. It's got kind of that feel to it. And that took a while longer because from a music standpoint, it goes to some strange places. It's not so much your ditty. Now there's more involved. And once we saw what was happening, I was not satisfied with some of the things that we had put down. The next week he would come back and say, you know, Ed, don't like what we wrote. We got rid of it and started over from a certain point to say, I want this to be bigger. The evolution process of writing a song is amazing. It really is. And we went from being okay with it to saying, no, I really like to take this down a different road. Thankfully, when two people write, they always say, one person, good songwriter, two people really can work well if they latch on. Three people, not so much.
Yeah.
Too many cooks spoil the broth, as they say. Too many cooks in the kitchen. But Ed and I seemed to latch on a lot. And he wasn't afraid to tell me, Glenn, that's crap, don't like it. And I wasn't afraid to say, Ed, you know what? Too many words crunched in there. Can you reword that? Can you say that a different way that we can actually make it make musical sense?
Yeah.
Because, a lot of times poetry is not musical. He had to move some words around. He was okay with that. I was okay with getting rid of some things and exchanging melodies to make it work so that we both, at the end of a session, 2-3 sessions, would take a deep breath and go, whoo, that's great. Then, when we got into the studio, even more changes were made because I brought in my longtime keyboard player, Oscar Dominguez, has been with me for 30 years. Okay, my longtime guitarist, who also Bob Comiskey in town here playing, and not only plays guitar, but he plays dobro and plays bass and plays mandolin, banjo. So as you hear all the different instruments, string instruments, that's Bob going from one to another. I also play acoustic guitar. Listen, as you know, I'm not a great acoustic guitar player, I'm a functional guitar player. But since I wrote the tunes, I kind of knew the sound I was looking for. And I would say to Bob, the real guitarist, Bob, what's the name of that chord? I got to write it down. I know my fingers go here. It's, that's an E flat diminished with a pinky on the fifth and whatever, however you guys talk as musicians. And so we were able to write it down that way. But I knew what I wanted to hear. So then we had a collaboration of 4 people, not to mention my talented engineer, who has the studio, who also is a musician, and he played a little bit on it too, Jace Wills. So when you get a lot of minds together that are all loving the project, they go, hey, what about this? Hey, what if we added a mandolin? Hey, how about a banjo here? Listen to it, you say, nah, not really, or you go, yeah, what a great idea. What fun it is to create and then listen to it, and then we always say, listen to it next week with fresh ears, and you go, what were we thinking there? It sounds like crap, that doesn't good, let's pull that track off. Or sometimes you go, wow, I'm glad we added that. And then, because Oscar lives in Montana now, okay, through the miracle, you're a tech guy, he just went into a studio in Montana, recorded the string lines that we need, mailed them here, we inserted them in. I mean, it's not like the old days we all had to be in the same room.
Yep.
I'm learning as I, earn and learn, baby, get older, old dog, new tricks. I'm going, wow, you can do that. That is so very cool. So yeah, so that's how the whole thing kind of came together, and I'm really kind of proud with what we've done. And I understand, you know, now that it's playing in spots in the world that I've never heard of. You know, Ed, who keeps track of all this on all those ways that you keep track of who's playing your music and whatnot. Oh, Glenn, we've got, you know, listeners in the UK, and we've got listeners in Uganda. And I gotta look at the globe to see where they're playing my music. Oh, really? So it's kind of cool. It's really kind of cool. So I'm really, different than anything I've ever done before musically. You know, I've done mostly, you know, my band was mostly a cover band. We did some originals, but, you know, one of my strengths and my weaknesses as a performer, Stephen, was the fact that I did other people's material so well that there was little impetus to develop my own, if you know what I'm saying. And in Las Vegas lounges, when they would say, Neil Diamond, well, there I am, sounding a little like Neil. Kenny Rogers, hey, blah, blah, Sinatra. Could do all those things, and I loved them all, because as I said earlier in this interview, I listened to all that music as a kid, and I really dug all of it. So I didn't want to say I just want to be a country singer. I did an album in Nashville, but I'm not country, okay? I do Broadway music. I've done some Broadway shows. But I'm not really a Broadway guy either, so I do a lot of different things, and that's why this was so exciting, because, again, different than anything I've ever done before. The next thing I do is probably going to be different than that. Keeps you young, baby. When you get to be my age, versatility keeps you young.
Oh yeah. So you're saying individual songs took varying lengths of time.
Varying length of time, yes.
Overall, before you got to the studio, about how long did it take to get to the studio?
We were in here. He was where he was, and I was in here probably over the course of a year, I'd say a good year, of once a week we met.
Wow.
Okay, for an hour. So over the course of a year, once a week for an hour, occasionally maybe twice a week if we were onto something and we didn't want to let that feeling go. Occasionally I'd extend the hour to 2 hours if we were moving, if I didn't have another student right after. But basically a year to write them, okay? And I think it was probably 3 months to record them, because again, everybody had to be available. I have a full schedule of students that I teach all week. The studio's on the other side of town, so it was like, when was Ed available, when was I available, Bobby, Jace, etc. So it was like, we took our time because we wanted it right, and again, it wasn't like we were under a record company deadline.
Yeah.
Like, we need to get this out. No, nobody needed to hear this. Nobody knew that it was even happening. So I've waited 75 years to do this. If it takes an extra week to make it right, let's take the extra week. Yeah. So he wasn't pressing me, I wasn't pressing the musicians. And because of that, Steve, I think we got what we were looking for. Because we'd listen to the final track, and I'd say, man, we need a harmony part there. And they'd listen and they'd go, well, let's put it in. If we don't like it, we can always take a sharp knife and cut it out. Most of the time, if I heard it, if I thought it should be there, it did belong there. And I was learning too, as in part of the engineering and producing process, as opposed to just the musician process and the singing process. I was on the other side of it going, you know what, we need something there. Something, because they're all originals.
Yeah.
We had nothing to go. We had no template. We had no blueprint. It was like, what do we want to do there? And with the strength and talent of the people that I put around me, and I'm not taking full credit for that, but I'm taking partial credit, because I knew, hey, we need some string lines here. I knew exactly the guy that plays the best strings, my Oscar. Strings and horns, had the instrument to do it. And you'll hear in some of the things like Dream Street Saloon, those beautiful haunting strings in the background, that was Oscar's brainchild. But he's been doing that for me for 30 years. When you work with someone for so long, Stephen, it's like I say to him, I can't believe you just played that. That's exactly what I wanted. And he'd look at me and say, how long have I worked with you?
Yeah.
I know what you want before you even say it. That's the kind of feel you have when you've been on stage that many years. And that's a great feeling, man. I mean, you don't have to teach somebody what you're looking for. So I know what you're looking for. You know, just let's do it twice.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell him what I think I want. He says, why don't you let me take it? I'll send it to you, see what you think. that's all that had to happen, because he said, like, yes, that was what was lacking the whole time. So that's the deal, and you can get it on Amazon, Amazon.com. Glenn Williams, Grown Up Words, and we're just trying to sell enough to. I have a very sick auntie. No. I would just like to raise enough money to buy Auntie a house in the Bahamas. On a golf course.
Then I will inherit.
Then I will inherit. So actually, yeah, they're available. You know what makes me happy is that I've done a lot of albums, but they've all been, distributed locally. I saw them, from my show and whatever. But this is the first one that has ever been distributed nationally, through the channels that we can now do that with. And where I've got my friends with high school with, back in Cleveland going, I saw your album on Amazon and I downloaded it. And I said, well, that's really cool, Bob. I hope you enjoy it. I love that song. And then strangers who write to Ed, because everything's going through Ed, going, I can't get Grown Up Words out of my head, man. I can't do it. It's a funny thing, because there's a picture on the front of a little boy and a little girl. They're walking into the lily fields or whatever. Uh-huh. And just about the time, and this was kind of like the whole Grown Up Words thing. And when you hear the song, folks, you'll understand the message behind this. But just about the time I was recording Grown Up Words, I made a connection on Facebook with a little girl from my street in North Olmsted, Ohio, who lived like 5 doors away from me, Joni, right? And I made a connection with her on Facebook. That would have been her and I, like at that particular time. She was like a year ahead of me. She was a cougar. Okay, I was 5, she was 6, right? So, I had a crush on her. You come together on Facebook in such weird ways. Going, are you the same Joni that lived on Rosita Lane? And yes, that's me. Okay. And I'm going, I'm doing this album. I mean, she didn't even know I was an entertainer. She didn't know I was like, I'm saying I'm doing this album and I'm doing a song called Grown Up Words, and it's about a little boy and a little girl like thinking they might be in love and stuff. And of course she was like the first one that bought the album. So that kind of stuff is just so neat when you make a connection, because all of the songs on here are of life.
Yeah.
Like sitting in the back seat. We all sat in the back seat, drove our parents crazy while we're driving someplace, right?
Yeah.
And the Dream Street Saloon, I keep mentioning that. It's a guy that's sitting in a bar waiting for a blind date to show up. He doesn't know what she's going to look like. He doesn't know what the future holds, but he has the utmost in hopes what might happen. And then he dances with her and he feels there might be some electricity. It's a great story, great story. Real fun stuff too. I Dodged a Bullet, love that. We've all known guys, we've all known girls that were thought that they were the one, and then you find out later on there was a bad breakup, but if you run into them, 10 years later and you found out, oh my God, thank God I didn't end up with her. And she's probably saying, thank God I didn't end up with him, okay? I dodged a bullet. That's a great story, and I'm sure Talking to Your Daddy is kind of cool. It's the last song on side B. It's an A and B side. That kind of takes you back to a guy maybe in his early 20s, who's inheriting some property, out in a farm someplace from his parents, and he's working to try to have something to give to the girl that he loves, and he thinks he's finally there. He's raising goats and cattle and whatever, and he says that night he's going to talk to her daddy about asking for her hand in marriage. And that's old school stuff, but really kind of got a soft spot in that. Lollygag. There was a song, I can't remember, it was meant to be a Bruno Mars song about just sitting around doing nothing all day long. I can't remember, you probably know the song I'm talking about. That's kind of a play off of that, like saying, what I'm going to do today? Nothing. I'm going to lay here and do nothing. Nothing is going to I'm not going to answer the phone, I'm not going to answer any texts. But you know what? I am going to call the girl and say, you know what? Why don't you come over? We'll just sit around and do nothing, man. We're going to lollygag all day. That's what we're going to do. So anyway, and there's more like that. But they're all great stories. And again, I challenge anyone to not be able to want to hum these things when you turn them off and you go, okay. There's a place in music for simple.
Oh yeah.
There's a place in music for not having to think a lot about it. I love jazz, you love jazz, I'm a jazz guy. But sometimes I don't have to think that hard. Sometimes I just want to lay in a hammock and have something not interfere with just enjoying music for music's sake alone, and not for having to do something that's extraordinary, that you're trying to impress, Juilliard graduates and Berkeley graduates and stuff. So if you're into that kind of thing, guys, you're not going to find anything new and different in here. It's not going to happen. It's C, F, and G. If you just got a guitar at home and you just started playing like last week, you could probably play all these songs on grown-up words, and you'll probably really enjoy it. What else, Stevie?
Well, you keep bringing up simple. But there are so many layers to every song. It's not as simple as it can portray it.
That's a good point. That's a real good point. I guess the process to make simple is complicated. We kind of had a saying while we were putting this together, and it was like the old Ray Kroc thing from McDonald's: "Keep it simple, stupid." But what we did say was, in the process, the complicated or difficult process of the layers. I like to say layers. Mm-hmm. The bed of melody that's there, the harmonies, the intricate harmonies that we put on there, the layer of strings that we put on, the instruments. Should we add a banjo? Should we add a mandolin? I'm not going to say complicated. I'm going to say took a while to sort out what we wanted and what we didn't want.
Okay.
The actual playing of it wasn't so complicated. It wasn't unsimple. But yes, the process of deciding what to use and what not to use was, yes, not complicated, but not easy. It wasn't simple. But what we wanted was, let's have something that sounds simple. I mean, there's some beautiful, I use the Beach Boys as an example because some of their harmonies, phenomenal harmonies, that they came up from listening to great vocal groups like the Four Freshmen back in the day. It sounds easy to the listener's ear, but we all know how complex those vocals were to get them to sound that way.
Yes.
So I think that's what we're talking about here. There's some complexity in what we did to put it together to make it sound simple. If you catch my drift. I say simple, but it was simple for the ear of the audience, not so simple for the builders.
Yeah.
In the studio.
Absolutely. It's just like you keep coming back to simple, but like in my head, even the opening line in Grown Up Words, there's a bit of a call and response to the string work. The lower end of the frequency strings comes in, and then the high end kicks in, and it's kind of this really fun and interesting call and response, which to me, like you keep saying simple, but to me, like there's
how it was born.
Yeah.
Okay. In a lot of these songs, you'll hear, I like that call and response that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. You'll hear a signature lick of sorts. Okay, you'll hear something that goes back after a chorus that's memorable, like da 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 da. In fact, I think that's it.
Yes, that is.
Okay, now, so when I wrote that, it was just one single line of guitar. La da 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 da. Okay, now when we recorded it, we started it with one single line of guitar, and then it was like, okay, Stephen, you used the magic word of layer. Mm-hmm. Then we said, we got to fatten that up. How do we want to fatten it? First thing, let's put it in octaves. Mm-hmm. Let's go on a high side, and we'll duplicate exactly what we did. Or maybe we might have done the high side first, and then duplicated the low one with the low string octave. And then it was like, okay, well that's kind of cool. We need something maybe in the middle. What can we do? But then all of a sudden, it took on a life. It began to say, now, since we've done those two parts, I think the third would be here, and that's going to make it something that will be memorable. But the mistake that oftentimes I think you can make if you don't arrest it is all of a sudden you start throwing everything at it.
Yeah.
Oh, we need more cowbell. Oh, let's put a xylophone in there because we have it. Hey, I know a guy that plays piccolo. You got to know when enough is enough. The biggest thing, if I give any amateur recording people any advice, sometimes less is more. less is more. And the greatest compliment that you can give someone who's playing an instrument is, wow, that was very tasteful. That was so tastefully played. That's what I was thinking about. I want it tasteful, not overdone. When we kept talking about simple, I want it to seem simple. When you throw too much at it, it becomes... I tell my singers, when I teach singers, sing within yourself. Be in control.
Yeah.
Okay, because when you sing outside of what you're capable of, you lose control and you also lose the connection with the audience. I think that when you're recording something like we did here, there comes a time when you say, we need to stop. 3 harmony parts is plenty. We don't need a 4th up top. We don't want to sound like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, okay? Because you've got 9,000 tracks. You can break, you can do the world's at your oyster. Yeah. But sometimes oftentimes, all the time, that's not a good thing. Knowing when to stop layering, knowing to stop throwing things in there is really when you get a good ear and a good feel for what is it you're trying to do. And you have to sit with, like Ed and I said, Ed, what are you looking for from this? Before we started the recording process, what are you looking for? We can make this as big as you want to make. I can give you my advice, what I'd like to do with it, but he was the executive producer on this. His word was the final word. Yeah. But thankfully, he allowed my input, a lot of my input, and we collaborated very well on that. But I'd say, Ed, I want you to be happy. I want the way that you wrote this, I want you to be fulfilled with the final process, with the final thing. Yeah. And he and I agreed that a little bit more, but not too much more. Mm-hmm. We don't want it thin, but we don't want the sound so fat that it begins to lose its effect of being homemade. Yeah. Okay? The songs are tender, poignant stories about, in most cases, intimate moments of a man's thoughts. Mm-hmm. Okay? And if you begin to throw in too many things, I think you begin to break down what it was meant to be. Someone once said, intensity versus intent. What is your intent? My intent is to make it sound like kids are in the backseat of a car and the parents are going crazy just trying to get it from one place to another. And there are not 15 violinists in the backseat of the car. There's not 14 trumpet players. Okay, when you're sitting listening going, all right, it's incongruous to what he's trying to say. Intensity. Yeah. You make the intensity versus the intent. And I've always tried to do that when I'm on stage. Uh-huh. When I put my arrangements together, when I tell my musicians what I think they should be playing to back me up, that's the way I went about it when I produced this album. So that's what you're going to hear, hopefully.
I definitely hear that. Well, one of my favorite quotes, and I can't remember for the life of me who said this, is the most important thing about playing an instrument is knowing when not to play. Mm-hmm.
Indubitably, my friend, absolutely. What you don't play sometimes is as vital as what you do play. Mm-hmm. I have myself played with musicians, some horn players that want to play every lick they ever knew in every solo, in every song. And drummers sometimes that play too much. I mean, I've had drummers play more melody on the drums than the guy was playing on the guitar, Sounds like you're building a garage back there. So I've played with some phenomenal drummers in my career, phenomenal. And I always tell them, just don't get in my way. Yeah. If you're playing so subtly, getting the job done, but no one hardly knows you're there, you're probably doing it correctly. I've also played with some phenomenal bass players the same way. Mm-hmm. Man, you're an accompanist. The best thing you can do is add, embellish, don't take over. Yeah. If you're in my way as the front guy singer, you're probably playing too much. And I've been blessed to play with some phenomenal musicians in my life. Phenomenal. Best in the business by far, here in town and back in Cleveland where I'm from and around the country. I've been very blessed. And the one thing I noticed about each one that was phenomenal was how tastefully they played. What they didn't play, when they decided to lay out and let the beauty of the song come through. you know. I've always felt this. The melody and the lyric of a song is what makes it. That you have to start off with a strong melody and a strong lyric. Then you put things behind it, okay, to embellish it, okay. You know, you got to start out with a good base to your soup, okay, and then you can throw some things in there without destroying the taste. I've always said, if I'm going to eat chili and I can't taste it because it's so hot, you've by throwing a lot of chili powder in, it doesn't make it good chili. It gets in the way of the foundation flavor that I'm really looking for. Such is the same, at least my belief has always been, such is the same with a song. Simple, yet profound, deep, something the audience can grab a hold of and remember. That's what I'm hoping that we've accomplished in Grown Up Words. Something that will make you think of something that you've long forgotten. Those days in the backseat of the car, a blind date that you were on, the girl that you're glad you didn't marry, the one that you let get away and you were happy, the days when you were laying around and said, you know what's great about today? I don't have to do nothing. I'm not going to work. I'm not going to mow the lawn. I'm just going to sit here and make popcorn and watch old movies. I mean, I think there's something for everyone that makes you think, man, that makes you go back. I think that's kind of the reason why Ed and I, we collaborated so well, because when he started telling me the stories, I could say, yeah, I can feel that. I've been there. Well, Mean Heart Blues, I think that might be my favorite cut of the album. And it's kind of a different twist on a blues thing, because here's a guy that's saying, I've just gotten my heart broken, and you're trying to come in and help me. I don't think I can give you of myself just yet, but don't go too far away, because when I'm over what I've just gotten through, I think I'm going to be giving you a call, but I don't want to take my blues out on you right now. It was a kind of a really twist thing. I got this Mean Heart Blues. I'm a little mean right now because I just got my heart broke. I don't want to make you pay debts for what this other one put me through. It was a kind of a neat twist on something we probably, I'm guessing. Maybe I'm the only one that's gone through this. Maybe I'm the only one that's ever had their heart broken. No, I know you've never had your heart broken, Steve, because you got your own show.
Yeah, right.
I'm just on your show. I've got my heart broken.
I just got a couple cameras and a computer.
You've got 3 cameras. My God. You got the same amount of cameras that Desi Arnaz had when he was filming I Love Lucy, for God's sake. And that was revolutionary. You're breaking new ground in here, Stevie. You're breaking new ground. And I wish you luck with this endeavor, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm always telling people that they can do something.
Yeah.
You know, I got a little sign in my thing that says, if you can dream it, you can do it, the Walt Disney thing. I have it there for my students that come in. And I've got people with big dreams that come into this room. And my job is to make them believe in themselves that they have just as big a chance as anyone to make their dreams come true. If they want to be a star, if they want to be a recording artist, if they want to be a great actor, could start right here. But you know what? We're going to have fun in the process.
Absolutely.
And there's one thing, everything that I've ever done in this business has been predicated on fun. Because I've always felt that if I'm on stage and I'm not having fun, the audience is not going to have fun. And I teach my students to be audience oriented. Mm-hmm. It's all about them and not about you. You are there to entertain. You're not giving them a creed to live by. You're not curing an incurable disease. You're entertaining. Have fun with it. When you're in here learning how to do it, which is why I teach, because I'd like to hand the baton off to the next generation of people that do what I've done and what I do. I'd like to tell them up front, have fun with it, man. Don't get so caught up in what it is that you're playing. It's just, how is it reaching the audience? You know, as you look around here, I don't have anything in my studio that isn't something that I want my students to learn and to live by. And there's something, excuse me while I point because I can't read. It says, to play a wrong note is insignificant. To play without passion is inexcusable. I love that. Because it doesn't matter if you make a mistake, but if you're not passionate about what you're playing. Okay, and that was said by a guy named Beethoven. Beethoven, it's some Beethoven, probably some guy from the 60s. From the 60s, I don't know. Some guy had an old rock group that they, I don't know, Beethoven, which I'm kidding on the square, because that's how long someone decided that you need to play with passion. We're going back centuries. Yep. That's the deal, man. And kids say, well, what should I sing, Mr. Glenn? What song should I sing? And my answer is always, bring in here songs that you're passionate about, that you love. I don't want you singing songs because your mom told you to sing them, or your boyfriend told you to sing them, or they're on the radio and they're popular. I want songs that touch you. I don't sing songs that don't touch me anymore. I don't. I perform now when I want to, not when I have to. I love that. So when I do a show, it's either about I do a tribute to an artist that's near and dear to my heart. You know that I've done Robert Goulet, I've done Tom Jones, I've done Glenn Campbell, people that were part of my life musically. Mm-hmm. So when I sing their songs, every time I sing it, it says, oh my God, that was a part of me. That helped me to be a performer. That was an inspiration to me. That man's an inspiration to me. So I tell my students, love what you do. Love what song you're going to sing. You can't give me 100% of your attention, vocally, instrumentally, musically, if you don't believe in what you're singing. Yeah. I had a young lady come in here. I think she was like 13, and her aunt brought her for her first lesson, and she looked so sad. And when she had left the studio for a moment to use the restroom, her aunt told me, the poor girl, my sister is an addict, and we can't find her, and I'm trying to raise her, and she has a little bit of a voice. I brought her here as hopefully give her something to do, something to. And she sang a song by Sarah Bareilles called, I can't think of the name of it now. This would have been such a great story. I had to remember the name of it. It might have been Gravity. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. But whatever it was, she didn't sing the song. She bled it all over my floor, Stephen. I got tears in my eyes. Her aunt's crying. The girl didn't have the best voice in the world, but she sang it like a testimony. Uh-huh. That's the X Factor, man. That's what people look for. If you watch all the American Idol first auditions, and you look at Kelly Clarkson and Carrie Underwood, the ones that won, or the ones that did very well, you see something special in their audition. You see that they're bringing something to the table that's more than just a good voice, more than just a knowledge of music, more than just a pretty face. There's something deeper. And like that young lady who I only saw a couple of times, I hope that her life got good. But I told her, you've got a gift. You have a gift to be able to tell a story, not just sing a song. Because I had another girl that went to second round of American Idol that sang the same song, and she's very pretty and her voice was very good, and that's as far as she went, because I don't believe that she ever felt it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't from here. It was from, did that sound good, Mr. Glenn? Did I get all the notes right? Is the rhythm correct? Is the tempo correct? Do I look good? Is my makeup on right? Man, if it was just about that, and just about a great voice, there would be no Bob Dylans in the world. Okay, I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, not the greatest singer. Oh, many relatives must have met. Okay, but the point is, he wrote from the heart, man, and he was able to touch and connect. That girl connected with me. That's the whole bit. Believe in it. Yeah. Believe in what you do. And I don't care if it's, I tell my students, they may not all end up musicians or singers or actors. Whatever they do, believe in it. If you're going to be an accountant, love what you do. Yeah. Believe in it, okay? I believe myself that you become successful if you follow what you love. Absolutely. I tell my students' parents, they say, and some that have with me for 4 or 5 years and have gone off to college or whatever, they come back and they say, so-and-so, she's, I always keep in touch with my students. I say, is, Gloria still singing? No, she's not singing, but what she's decided to do is she's going to go to law school because, she gained some confidence in studio with you, just standing up and being able to speak and to talk and to perform, so that when she started doing oral book reports in middle school, she wasn't afraid anymore, and she gained confidence. And I believe, Glenn, that she got that confidence from working with you in studio because you told her she could do it, that she could stand up and she could speak and project. Now she wants to be a trial lawyer. I mean, so, I've got a gentleman that just tomorrow, as a matter of fact, he's going to get his white coat ceremony for UNLV medical school.
Wow.
And he came to me, not as a singer or a performer, he came to me just so he could learn a little bit more confidence in speaking. And through that, he tells me, that he was able to go to the interview process, which is very lengthy at medical schools. They really do, they get into deep, and he didn't feel confident before talking about himself and being able to project. And now he says, why don't you got to come to my white coat ceremony because, you're partially responsible for being here. And I'm going, I don't think so, pal. You're the one that had the 4.4 average in school to be able. He said, but no, a lot of it was what I was able to say and project in interviews. And I learned that from you. When you hear that, pal, from students, you're saying, wow, that is the best compliment I could ever receive as a teacher. On my business card it says, a teacher never knows how they affect eternity because they don't know where their influence stops. Uh-huh. And when I hear that from students that come back, and a student that I haven't seen in 3 or 4 years, gone off to college, coming back, is just coming over tomorrow night, just to chat, and because all of this is what I've done since then. So it's so cool. What do I tell my students now? You can do it. Absolutely. Find out what you love and pursue it. Okay? I told my daughter, she just graduated from Marymount Manhattan College with a degree in musical theater. Because, now people say, well, what are you going to do with a musical theater degree? And she says when she goes to interview for jobs, whatever she's doing, she uses her ability as an actress to project what she's feeling, okay? And so in her answer to what are you going to do with a musical theater degree, her answer is anything I want. And you know what? And she learned that hopefully right here in this studio as my daughter. I never pressed her into wanting to love theater, to want to love acting. She just took it upon herself and she worked harder at it than I ever did, Steve. She actually cared. I just got into business to meet chicks. I got into business for 2 reasons. To meet chicks and because I couldn't do anything else. My dad used to say, I used to work around the house with my dad. He'd say, hey, try to pound that nail in. He said, no, never mind. It's a good thing you can sing, pal. Because you're going to starve to death out there in the world. But yeah, it's like I tell her, just do it because you love it, man. Now she's in LA, and because she lived in New York when she was going to college there. She said, Dad, I'm going to try the other coast. I may end up back in New York and I'll do that. I say, honey, do it while you're young, man. You know what? And you ain't going to fail unless you don't take a shot. Then you fail, okay? 100% of so many cliches, 100% of the shots you don't make are the ones you don't take. All those things are true. It's like, go for it. You know what? You're not going to fail. You'll fail only if you don't try. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you didn't make it this time. Okay? I mean, we all know that Thomas Edison invented the light bulb like 31 times he failed. And he always said, I didn't fail 31 times. I just found 30 ways it wouldn't work. Yeah. It's a perspective, man. It's a perspective. So, like I tell my daughter and my students, I say, go for it, man. Who's to tell you that you can't do it? A little girl named Taylor Swift probably sitting around with a guitar one day and said, I think I'm going to try for this. Thank God her mother or her teacher, whoever, didn't say, I don't think you got it, honey. The television, the motion picture studios are filled with people just like you and me, pal, that just gave it a shot. So that's the deal. That's why I have over 3 listeners in Uganda right now, picking up my album. I think I've got 5 like in Brazil going. They send you these long graphs of where they're playing your album. I don't know how they know that, but she said, Ed would call me. He said, Ed. He said, we got 2 more listeners in the UK. Yes. Can you name them? Right? I don't know, but I'm sure they speak with a cool accent. I don't know.
I would just like to say thank you, Glenn, for joining me for the inaugural episode of Indie Interviews. If you would like more interviews, please subscribe. There are a lot more in the pipeline. I will be releasing them every 2 weeks. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. In the meantime, feel free to watch some of my other videos. You have a wonderful day, and thanks for joining me.